Hello again, everyone. Welcome back for the latest edition of the Arbury Road Podcast with myself, Dermot, as always. After last week's episode about AI, we had many requests to do more episodes about similar topics. So we have listened to your requests. And today we're going to talk about blockchain technology and sustainability. So first up, back for his second podcast in a row, we have Manuel Checchin. Manuel is a manager at Accenture, where he leads intelligent automated practice. Manuel, welcome back.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be back after the podcast on artificial intelligence. And if you didn't see the podcast, please go to the link, go on our page on Arbury Road and look for it. And today I'm kind of excited to deep dive the blockchain aspect.
Yeah, they couldn't get enough of you last week, Manuel. You were a big fan favorite, so this should be good. So joining us now today as well, we have got Walfredo della Gherardesca, CEO and co-founder of GenuineWay, which is a vertical blockchain provider for the issues of environmental sustainability and social impact. Walfredo, first of all, apologies about the pronunciation. And secondly, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Dermot. Thanks for having me. Your pronunciation was above average, so I'm used to getting worse versions of it. Thanks, and I'm very excited to be here.
Lovely stuff. So we're really looking forward to hearing about GenuineWay. But first, for our listeners at home, could you tell us in as simple terms as possible, what is blockchain technology?
Yeah. Blockchain technology is distributed ledger. So it's a distributed database that is not on a server of a company or a private person or on a cloud. That's what centralized is. It's decentralized, meaning it's held on thousands of nodes. So nodes is computers, it's computing power. And this makes the net, the ledger, unique in a way that no one has complete power and control on it. And that, for example, when you are approved to insert data or a file or whatever you want inside of this protocol, no one has the power to remove it, hide it, or edit it. So this makes it a very unique kind of ledger.
Perfect. So would that mean that is all the information on a blockchain always publicly available?
So there's two families of blockchains, of course. There's the public blockchain and the private blockchain. Private blockchain is something that is not really interesting for example, what we do, or for anything that is consumer facing, or anything that is related to the availability of information. It's more for B2B efficiency. It's for disintermediating within certain aspects of business and industry, while the public blockchain is where everything becomes available to everyone.
Okay. Let's talk about the cost then for a second. How efficient is blockchain technology in terms of cost?
Well, I would say that we're not at a super efficient level yet, but we've had a massive evolution in the last 5 years. So ever since starting with the first protocols, of course, as many might know, blockchain was launched through Bitcoin now, over a decade ago by a unknown group of people that come under the name of Satoshi Nagatomo, but basically that was the release of a white paper that would allow people to actually study blockchain, understand what it is, and then develop their own solutions. And so the most known protocol for business for implementation has been for a long time Ethereum. And let's say that Ethereum is still not too scalable and can be expensive, but ever since there's been evolution, and there's so many different blockchains, there's so many projects. There's been, I don't want to be boring people with technical aspects, but the biggest evolution has been the transition from a so-called proof of work model to a proof of stake model that makes it way more affordable to use blockchain.
What would be the difference between those two models?
So proof of work is a model where you need to reward every single node that is allowing you to make transactions, where proof of stake works on a staking system where you basically are the single blockchain. For example, EOS, which is the blockchain we work on mostly, EOS.io, will require you to stock a certain amount of coin, of EOS coin, on your wallet in order to access, let's say, a monthly bandwidth of transactions. So in that way, it's not actually a cost. It's just the fact that you need to invest in their protocol, in their coin, and keep it there. And of course, there's some interests that come with this for different reasons why the protocol will profit from this kind of business. But it's very cool because you're not having a cost for every single transaction.
Perfect. Manuel,
so
did you want to jump in there?
Yes. I think that we need also to underline one thing. Walfredo already said it, but I think it's good to underline again. First of all, blockchain is a technology. We directly think about Bitcoin, but it is something that we can apply on different sectors. Contract, for example, with Ethereum, or to the money with Bitcoin, for example. But in the end, instead of, let's say, what we need to talk, apart from the technical aspect that I don't think are really interesting for our audience, is like about the impact. As we said, maybe right now about the cost is an area of improvement, but what is going to really affect the market is that on efficiency point of view, and then on a sustainability point of view. So I don't know, what do you think, Walfredo, about this, and maybe how is your company, let's say, driving those two aspects?
Absolutely. I always say that the biggest problem with blockchain is communication, is actually getting the consumer, to the average Joe, to understand what I mean, they don't even need to understand what blockchain is, but they need to know that how blockchain can be useful in their everyday life. And I'll come to what we do in a minute, but we're very, consumer facing, and this has been the big problem. As Manuel said, like initially there was, first of all, great confusion about the distinction between blockchain and Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is a fintech application of using the blockchain technology in cryptocurrencies. It's like saying, I always say, like, it's like comparing internet and the World Wide Web and Amazon. Amazon is an e-commerce application that works on the web, and blockchain is the web to Bitcoin and to many things such as GenuineWay. So this is the first distinction. I think is not so simple sometimes to understand straight away. And secondly, the thing that is interesting is that in the last 2 years, we're actually having so many real projects with real impact. And as Manuel's pointed out, we're in the space of sustainability, but this is just one of many applications. There is massive applications within the government space. So administration, making efficiency everywhere, disintermediating everywhere.
Let's think also about the US presidential right now. We could have voted with blockchain, right?
Yeah, I mean, Estonia has already voted with blockchain system in the past. So there are countries that, of course, are like great for experimenting. They're very, very tech savvy. And there's so many things. I don't want to open the Pandora vase, as you say, but really a lot of exciting stuff happening. Also in real estate, the opportunity of tokenizing a real estate building and owning a percentage of it and being able to trade it without going to the public notary. This is something that happens in certain countries. NFT, you must have heard it in the news lately. It's a very big deal. The ownership of digital creativity is a big topic. So coming to GenuineWay, basically the background of us as founders, we're all in tech entrepreneurs, and some of us, I come from the e-commerce space and foods. Other people just come from, blockchain. And we wanted to focus on how to use this blockchain to fight the problem of greenwashing, which, you know, you've heard it before, but it's that process that causes the positive impact of real positive brands, in our case, to be kind of stalled by the communication of all the other brands or companies that are saying, yes, we're sustainable too. Yes, you know, we help humanity too. Because there's a great difference between some ethical brands and the others, we use blockchain to create transparency towards a conscious consumer and bring the competitive advantage back to these brands.
Perfect. So let's just pop back a small bit. We mentioned sustainability there, but stepping back one from GenuineWay, how sustainable is blockchain technology in general? Because the famous story that people like me here who don't know too much about this topic recently is the amount of electricity needed to mine Bitcoin is taking over some large countries, this kind of stuff. How true are these stories and how sustainable is the technology?
So, I mean, they're pretty true. And what I answer is, it's a distinction. You know, when I talk about sustainability as the impact of my transactions, the impact of what I imply in my business for sustainability. So as a fraction of, you know, the blockchain infrastructure is really irrelevant at all. So it really depends on, you're talking about a whole world, you know, a whole world infrastructure, which is heavy. But I like to think of it as when you had a computer back in the 80s and in NASA, you would have a whole room to fill a computer. And, you know, now a computer can be 1 inch large. So it's really an evolution. I just think it's there's already been an evolution in this respect in the last 3 years, and 10 years from now, the impact of blockchain for the environment will be way less threatening, I would say.
Okay, perfect. So what are some of the more, let's get a bit more specific on the projects you've undertaken at GenuineWay. What are you working on at the moment? Yeah,
so GenuineWay basically is a Swiss provider that is specialized in supporting these kind of what we call ethical brands. We work with consumer goods, so from fashion to food, wine, cosmetics, design objects. And what we do is we have a platform that allows, so our job starts in a traditional way. We basically have analysts and we get in touch with a brand and listen to the narrative pertaining to their product, to the supply chain. Usually, as I said, they're small and middle-sized brands. And then we kind of do these interviews and require them to provide us with a bundle of documentation. This bundle of documentation is made out of everything: contracts, pre-existing certificates, patents, lab tests, you name it. What we need is to validate, objectively asseverate or validate a narrative that then goes to the consumer, moving the brand from mere marketing and communication, which is where they compete on greenwashing, to what I say auto-certification or a deeper level of interaction. So we basically will look at this documentation, we will analyze it, but not as a certification entity, as an objective, like super consumer, I would say, as a clever consumer. And for example, you give me a lab test and I will see if you have chemicals in your product. You want to tell me that you're doing a program with an NGO and you're recycling your used shoes when they give it back to you, then we want a written statement from that NGO. We want receipts of the payments. Then what we do is we notarize this bundle of documentation on the public blockchain. The reason why we do this is to create a liability for the brand that does that. So I think this is a subtle but interesting point. It's not that the blockchain provides certainty or extra value to the documentation. The blockchain is a layer that allows the brand to take an extra step and have a liability for putting something there that will stay there forever, that cannot be hidden and modified, which is basically telling the consumer, hey, we're working, you know, GenuineWay is working for you. We're selecting the brands, we're analyzing it, but then the output is here. if someone has a scandal, like, and they realize that, the consumer realizes that the packaging was full of plastic, it was not sustainable. Well, in the traditional world, they will just call the IT guy, put the website down, take the social media, and try to face the situation. With GenuineWay, this is not possible. So we give a competitive advantage to who has substance. And we don't stop there. We then need to translate these mini projects to consumers in a native mobile experience, because the consumer has 30 seconds of attention span. And anyone who's listening to this podcast, imagine entering a supermarket or a shopping mall, or even receiving a product after buying it on e-commerce. You will have, if you're interested, if you're an ethical consumer, you'll have a few seconds or a minute to really engage with the product and understand, wow, this product is awesome. You will not have the opportunity to browse 100 documents. So the documents are there on the blockchain, but they're basically pre-analyzed and described in a very engaging story. At this point, the cool thing about GenuineWay is all the brands that digitalize then their products with QR codes or NFC, they actually take part into what I call an ethical net, a sharing economy of consumers. So there's a contract in place that basically where every brand is accepting to even share their organic scannings with the other consumers and allow consumers to bounce from one product to the e-commerce of another sustainable brand. And we're trying to create a commercial opportunity for ethical brands with ethical consumers.
Sounds really, really impressive. I just want to ask you something just to make sure I've understood correctly. So you'll take the information from a brand and you'll essentially run the analysis on it. What happens if the results are not what the brand were hoping for?
Well, of course, we have a responsibility towards the consumers, and our brand is affected by negative feedback regarding a product. So we let's say that most of the time we connect really innovative brands, because this is kind of the funnel with us. We literally search for brands that we think that are awesome. But when a lot of times brands connect with us because they want to enter the system. But in that case, we're even stricter in understanding if there is a sustainability aspect there at all. Sometimes we will not work with the brand. Other times we will just suggest a different topic narrative. So look, you're the brand comes and say, we're using organic cotton. And I say, okay, cool. But this is not top-notch innovation for sustainability. Top-notch is tensile fiber with a circularity program and so on. So we will say, but wait, maybe we can just tell a story of your social impact. You have 50% or more women in your company. That's gender equality. So sometimes we manage to spin it around, find some positive aspects that is not sustainability.
But then also, I think on this that right now we are at a stage that all the businesses need to review their operating model in a sustainable way. CSR, corporate social responsibility, right now is no more, let's say, some bullshit that you were writing on some reports. This is not marketing right now. It's something that is, I would say, compulsory. So if it brings on the table that you are not sustainable, I mean, it's not bad at all, because it is going to highlight you the aspect and where you need to review your model in order to be sustainable, because it's something that you must do actually. So this is at least my point of view.
I agree 100%.
And then if I can do a question, I would like to ask to Walfredo, what do you think are going to be the next challenges, either for your company and also for the blockchain?
So for blockchain, the same topic I touched before, we really need to make an effort to change the communication towards consumer. Make just like Dermot you are doing now. So get the consumer to actually talk about blockchain for the first time. Listen, I think this could be a fresh conversation we're having. It's relatable. I enter a supermarket. I'll give you an example, so it's better, of one of our clients. We have a client in Holland that's called Crazy About Eggs. You can go and Google it. And they've selected the 5 best farmers who grow chicken in the most ethical way. these chickens are happy chicken, as we like to say. So what we did on blockchain, we brought receipts to prove that they're eating certain foods. We brought the contracts to prove that they're actually working with those farmers, so the supply chain. And then we come up with crazy ideas, like these guys put some cameras and we have a chicken cam. So you enter a supermarket and there's the eggs, and there's like this really cool packaging of these crazy about eggs, and it says only happy chicken. Enter the chicken cam. You scan the QR code, and so the first, as I was saying, the first impact needs to be fresh. So you are on a camera and you can see that the chicken lives in a big space. There's only 2 chickens. They're not tied up. You know, it's not a industrial type of breeding. And then we will try to explain why this egg is positive. So this is the first time as a consumer that you will be taking the value of blockchain without even knowing. Probably we won't even stress the fact that it's blockchain too much, but you are actually using blockchain in your life. So this is the most important thing now, is to get blockchain as adopted by consumers. For GenuineWay, I would say we're very ambitious. We're a small startup. We're raising around, and but we have 39 clients in 7 countries, and we are the only ones that are vertical position for small and middle-sized enterprises for CSR right now. So we want to have a portfolio of over 1,000 brands in Europe. This is our goal. We're at 40, so it's all about marketing and hustling.
Perfect. One last question, so before we wrap things up, Walfredo, and also for you, Manuel, what do you guys see as the most threatening activities at the moment in this industry? What's happening that really needs to stop?
Well, I mean, for me, are you talking about the blockchain industry or the
blockchain industry? Also, just sustainability and social impact across tech, because from my point of view, I'm no tech expert in any sense of the word, and there seems to be this uncertainty or this lack of clarity about how sustainable a lot of things happening in the tech industry are. So what do you see as the biggest threats at the moment?
Well, I mean, it's not very original to say this, but it's definitely greenwashing. It's definitely the fact that everybody's jumping on the wagon. As Manuel said, everyone, it's not an option to have a positive impact now. You have to. We are doing a project with a large bank that I will not name, that is using maybe our product to give access to finance, to give a rating score. It's all connected now. And so unfortunately, there's just, especially when you go in very large industrial companies, there's a lot of communication that will misguide the consumer. He's going to buy that product thinking that it's good, but it's really not. So that's the biggest issue. For the blockchain industry in general, I would say the biggest issue has been like the whole ICO craziness, crypto world, because it's really been full of scammers, and it's the main driver there is just greed. It's just like speculation. I've been part of that, and just think that it's just like a lot of people were disappointed by that world.
Yes, I do agree together with you, but and also I think since like this technology is a let's call it a democratic technology, I think like maybe also the European Union can somehow do some regulation and monitor like also the communication, how to, let's say, to make to help the exploitation, let's say, of the blockchain. Something that they are working, I think they are working on, because it's something that is going to happen for sure. They are doing, let's say, on the artificial intelligence. I see that they are already and they released a document last week. So, and I hope they are going to do something in that way also for the blockchain.
Yeah, absolutely. Regarding regulation, this is a hot topic, because what we do is it's not compulsory and it's not regulated. And so the brand does it because they understand it. But what I say in Italy would be nice to have compare a blockchain documental notarization to a notary public apostillation. Disintermediating this, giving value to this action would make it more relevant for the brands do it. The reason why we're in Switzerland and the reason why many blockchain companies are in Switzerland is because it's been the only country. There's minor countries like Malta, Luxembourg, and so on, but Switzerland has been the only country that has really done some regulation, and that they've had the authority that had given some guidelines so people could do business without being scared of sanctions and stuff.
Perfect. All right, guys. I think we're going to leave it there. Walfredo, thanks a million for joining us. That was extremely insightful. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I hope our listeners have too.
A pleasure.
Thank you so much, Walfredo.
Manuel, a pleasure as always.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, guys. We'll be back again early next week with another edition of the podcast. Take care.